As the pain got worse, my life got smaller and smaller and smaller. The pain took up all of my attention and all of my resources, all of my energy, and there was just no room for anything else. My pain story started back in January of 2010 when I was working as a firefighter paramedic for Orange County Fire Authority in Southern California. It was a routine kind of medical aid, but it was in the middle of the night. I was getting off the engine fast, kind of quickly, so we could get back to the station as fast as possible and maybe get some sleep before our next call. And I missed the step getting out of the cab, and I just felt a twinge in my right hip. I went and saw our occupational doctor and stayed at work for the next 5 months doing physical therapy, and the pain just kept getting worse. So about 5 months after I felt that twinge in my hip, I went off work on workers' compensation. That was really kind of when my dark years, as I call them, began. When the pain kind of set in and when I went off work and I was off on workers' compensation, it was so disorienting because I felt like I kind of lost who I was. Later in that year, in October, I saw my first orthopedic specialist, and he referred me to a hip surgeon, and the surgeon recommended surgery. Thought it was going to fix the pain and that I'd be back at work and everything was just going to go back to normal. I ended up having to medically retire about 2 years after that surgery. The pain still hadn't improved. I decided at that point that I was going to figure out my pain myself, that I was going to figure it out on my own. So I went back to graduate school. Learning pain science really changed my pain experience and how I conceptualize pain and how I conceptualize myself with pain. Pain's more complex than just what's going on in the structures and the tissues, and that part I didn't know about until I went back to school. Understanding pain in this different way meant that my pain was very real and that there was very real biological explanations for it, and that was empowering. Like, understanding that was so validating, so empowering, and gave realistic hope for a different path. I felt like all of my healthcare professionals were empathic and caring and that they cared about my experience, but I don't know that I was always listened to. I don't feel like I was actually understood as a person by a lot of them, and I don't think that's an individualistic problem. I think it's more of a systemic problem. The patient story or the patient narrative is often neglected in today's healthcare systems, that we're not really heard and we're not understood as people. I think that what can be better is just listening, getting to know that person in pain. That's where we need to drill down to, and what will be most helpful for people in pain to help them move forward, to figure out what they need to understand and what they can do within their own experience to change it. Bringing together the patient perspective with clinicians and with researchers, I think, is the only way that we're going to find better ways forward. So for IASP to facilitate that, to bring these different stakeholders to the table, to have more meaningful conversations about what pain is, what it's like to live with pain, what it's like to seek care for pain, and what could be done differently or better are conversations that we need to be having.